Hi, I'm Chris McCoy,
And I'm Abigail Morici.
and this is the Memphis Flyer podcast. Every week we jump on here to tell you what's going on in Memphis and what we're covering in the paper. And Abigail, I'm going to go ahead and address the elephant in the room. I have a new shirt.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
did notice that. I was like, you're not wearing the rainbow.
Yeah, well, so I have one Memphis Flyer shirt,
That's one I have.
the rainbow shirt, which is a
Yeah.
great shirt, and you should all go buy it. But I was at Crafts and Drafts this weekend. We were working the booth in Crosstown, and I was like, I need another shirt. So I got this one at the booth, and we talked to lots and lots of people. I was there for like 2.5 hours, maybe,
Nice.
behind the booth. There were tons of people there,
Nice.
tons of people there, and we were making contact, talking to people who read the paper, and making turning some people on who didn't know about it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was altogether a success and a huge crowd. I think one of the reasons the crowd was so big was because Pride had gotten rained out
Yeah,
that
which
day.
is sad.
It is sad, but I know, I was like, because we did that was last week, was our cover story about Pride, and I was like, oh my goodness, did I jinx them?
You did.
I
It's
did.
all your fault.
It is. Blame me, folks. Not the mayor, not Pride. It's my fault because I wrote about it. But they're rescheduled for June 21st, which is not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, right? And so we're gonna have another shot at that. But Crafts and Drafts was a huge success, and we are just, I don't know.
Yeah, I slept through it, so.
Oh, good.
I was supposed to go, and then I took a nap, and then it went until 5. So.
See, this is why I can't nap. I'm afraid I'm just gonna wake up. It'll be 1 o'clock in the morning, and
Yeah.
well, now I've slept.
Yeah, it was a 3-hour-long nap. The rain helped, and.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was pretty bad. My boyfriend texted, he's like, "Are we going?" I was like, "No."
No. Well,
Not going.
you need your rest to bring people the kind of cutting edge journalism that we bring. This week, you have the cover story.
I do indeed.
And I read it this morning. Why don't you tell the folks what it's about?
Well, it's about Black women textile artists in Memphis. There seems to be a lot going on. Well, it's always been going on. I think it's always been undershown, underrepresented. Most of the time, it's just kind of happening in houses, in little groups. People meet up at the library. There's even a little group at the Dixon that they meet up once a month. So it's always been around, but I think now museums are more interested in showing crafts, making things more equitable and accessible. So
And there's a big exhibit at U of M, right? Right now.
Yeah, right now there's a show called Unraveled. It's been put on by Jayla Slater. She is an adjunct professor there. She teaches fashion, sewing in particular. And it has lots of artists. Some of them are national, international, and there are 3 Memphis artists. And I got to talk to 2 of them, Janessa Ladson and Kid Cardiac. And both of them are really cool, really interesting people. Janessa, she works with hair. She weaves her hair into her pieces, and hair, obviously for the Black community, is can be very politicized, but also very personal. And for her, she comes from a mixed race background, and she's not super close to her Black family, so hair has held a lot of personal meaning for her. And so it's talking with her has been really eye-opening. And her pieces are gorgeous also. She uses cyanotype photographs in her pieces. And so seeing them in the gallery, you have to go see the show. It's free to visit too. And then Kid Cardiac does tufting. I don't know if you've ever seen this video. It's kind of gone viral recently on TikTok or Instagram. There are these drill machines of carpeting, and she does these really cool tufted pieces of Black musicians or sports figures that she's found inspiring in her life. And it's really laborious and physical. A lot of these processes are time intensive, which is it takes time, and I think that should be honored.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
did she make the Andre 3000
Mm-hmm.
portrait? Which is in the paper, but the picture, but it was gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. And the funny thing is, so she started doing these tufted pieces during the pandemic, and she's never done visual art before. Like, she's never drawn or, like, really, like, sat down with pen and paper to, like, sketch things out. And so, like, it's fascinating because, like, she hadn't, like, not done, like, the shadows and the highlights before, which I think is really cool that she's able to, like, make these, like, gorgeous portraits of things.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, I just knew I would be able to do it one day, and, like, I would be good if I could just keep doing it and improving. But, like, she was just good on, like, the first try, basically.
Yeah. But to be able to do shading like that in like a very
yarn.
A very unforgiving medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that drill, it gets so cool, and, like, it's loud. And she's a musician by, like, trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, she likes the noise, and she uses music, and it kind of gets her in a rhythm. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, anyways, check that out. That's that's on the cover this week, and that exhibit's going to be running through 1st of August.
The 5th of August, and then the Brooks will have another textile show, and I talked to another artist who also is in textile, so there's a lot going on in Memphis. But Unraveled, I think, is, like, the main star of the show right now.
Yeah. The Brooks had a great exhibit several years ago called The Quilts of G's Bend. It might have been 15 years ago now, actually. Now
I think that's what they said. I talked to them, and they said it's been, like, 10, 12 years since they've had a quilting show.
Yeah.
Before my time, before I was in Memphis.
But it was spectacular. It's seriously, the Quilts of G's Bend was one of the best shows I've ever seen at the Brooks. And they just really, they used the space really well. And it was like, you walked in and there was this giant quilt at the end of the room. And it was just like vibrating as you walked in. It was really cool. I bought my mom the catalog because I thought it was so cool.
That's cool. Does she quilt or?
Well, no, my grandmother quilted.
Oh, cool.
Yes, and was really good at it and the weird part about it is my grandmother worked for the Batesville Casket Company.
Okay.
And so she was a seamstress, but that's, she got paid to do it there for a long time. So I literally, and I have a whole bunch of her quilts, right?
That's cool.
I literally have one quilt that is like a coffin lining. That's made out of a coffin lining. It's really soft.
That's good to know for, the future.
For the future. That's right.
Soft.
This is super comfortable, man.
Hopefully don't, cheap out in the future,
Yeah.
That's kind of the way the world's going.
But
you could use it.
Yeah.
For your own coffin.
Yeah. It's an heirloom. So the other things we have in the paper this week, Jackson wrote about the mayor.
Yes. Right? He's been kind of embroiled in a lot of XAI topics, being blamed for everything.
That's what happens when you're mayor. Everybody blames you. One way or the other. You're the guy that's going to get blamed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, how do you think he's handling the whole XAI thing?
Well, I think it's a weird position for him.
Yeah.
Because from the city's point of view, and also like MLG's point of view, I mean, they're just another industrial customer. And if you want to talk about things that are harmful, I mean, there's a lot of industrial customers that are harmful.
Yeah.
We have a giant Valero oil refinery down there that is spewing basically Zyklon B, which is potassium cyanide all the time, and it has been for years, and they've been underreporting it. There's a lot of, like, if you're going to, I think that the environmental justice movement in Memphis has a big point about all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But it's hard for the mayor because he's caught between those things. And in the big picture of things that are harmful environmentally, I mean, I don't think XAI is on the list, considering all the other stuff that's going on. On the other hand, what that technology is being used for and potentially being used for, can be extremely objectionable, and I can
Yeah.
go on at length about that, and you do not want. She's heard me. She's heard me do that, so maybe we shouldn't do that on the podcast.
Yeah.
Call me. I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
Because I sound a little crazy when I start talking about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a difficult position for him to be in.
It is. Yeah.
But on the other hand, I mean, that's like being a big city mayor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you're always going to be caught between competing. What am I trying to say? Powers. You're always going to be caught between interests. You're always going to be caught between competing interests.
Yeah.
You know, I think the cancellation or the now postponement of Pride is another example. I mean, they had to make that decision. When they had to make the decision, do we go or not go? It was not just kind of storming. It was massive.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of 3 inches of water all over Robert Church Park, which is a great place to have the Pride.
Mm-hmm.
You were right down next to Beale Street and everything, but it doesn't drain very well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like sort of the other part of the equation. I think, you know, some of the vendors lost their, you know, had their stuff damaged in that storm. So when they actually had to make the decision, it was like, it looked terrible. And then a couple hours later, it cleared up and everybody was like, oh, the mayor's doing this on purpose. And I was like, no, they just had they had a really difficult decision to make. So I don't know, you know, I give the mayor a lot of grief, but that's his job. Is getting grief from me. And if I feel like if we're not giving him grief, then we're not doing our job.
Yeah.
You know, to a certain extent. But the XAI thing is a very complicated situation.
Yeah.
And I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's good for the city in the long run.
I mean, that's certainly arguable.
I think that's like kind of the most basic platform to have.
Because my biggest concern, honestly, is how they have all this data that they got from the Treasury Department, they got from the IRS, that they got from Social Security and everything, and they're going to use that data to build a model of America, basically, or to train their LLMs on this data set. I mean, that's what you do with these large language models. You train them on data sets. And they're going to, and I'll have already done it, I'm sure, are training on this data set to try to find patterns. And I think that the way that the patterns that they find are not going to be used for good.
Probably not.
No. And so that's, to me, is pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's a big complicated issue. You know, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. There's a reason I cover arts and not.
I know. Let's put you on the spot and talk about politics.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know.
But anyways, and then I saw the Phoenician Scheme, and I'm a big Wes Anderson fan. This is his latest. Benicio del Toro is the lead in this. And so I'm a big Wes Anderson fan from long-standing, going all the way back to Bottle Rocket and the Royal Tenenbaums, you know, and all that. You ever seen the Royal Tenenbaums?
No.
Okay, we were talking about this earlier. You did see Moonrise Kingdom, which is a brilliant, beautiful movie.
Yeah.
And this one is so the last movie he made, which was Asteroid City, like, you know, people talk about Wes Anderson, that his art design and his visual sense like gets the better of everything, right? And I don't think that's true usually, but in the last movie, Asteroid City, it was, because there was the story, it was like a story within a story within a story. And it was just like, there's too many layers on this. And every time it would start to get momentum, it would just like, now we're changing to another not story, right? Yeah. This one does not have, the Phoenician Scheme does not have that problem, because it focuses on Benicio del Toro, who does a great, great job. He is an industrialist in the 50s named Zsa Zsa Korba, who is an absolute ruthless capitalist, and a lot of people hate him and are trying to kill him. And he's trying to do a giant infrastructure scheme project in the Middle East that is too expensive, and he's trying to get other people to pay for it. So that's sort of like the baseline. And also there are people trying to kill him, and he's has to. So it starts off with an assassination attempt on him, and he gets a little he is knocked unconscious in a plane crash, and then like has a vision of heaven, like trying to talk his way into heaven, basically at the pearly gates, and it's not working. So he, as you can imagine, so he decides, okay, I have to like take care of my life. I have to take care of my posterity because one of these days they're going to get me, you know. And he reconnects with his daughter, who is becoming a nun.
Yeah.
And she is great too. And I cannot remember her name, but I will tell you.
Threeple.
Yes.
Yeah. That's Kate Winslet's daughter.
It's Kate Winslet's daughter. And the director said, he did not know who she was. He saw the audition tape, loved it, and was like, let me go look up what else she's been in. And she hadn't been in anything. She's Kate Winslet's daughter. He was like, wow, okay. Sold. Yeah. And well, she does a great job. Yeah, it is. I mean, she's a Nepo baby, but
she's good.
She's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's that the Nepo baby thing to me is like, if it's nepotism, you know, it's like your dad or mom or whatever gave you a leg up in the industry and you're not good. That's one thing.
Then you're a real Nepo baby.
Yeah, you're a real Nepo
baby. You're
baby.
baby.
Yeah. But people like Maya Hawke, who is a great actress, and Mia, did I get her name right?
Yeah, I think so.
She does a really good job. And it's really difficult because she's got all these scenes with Benicio, who is just not only an enormous person, you know, a good foot and a half taller than her, but has an enormous personality too. But anyways, this one's really good. Michael Cera is in it, and he's fantastic. And it was like, wow, why has he not been working with Wes Anderson this whole time, you know, to a certain extent. So I really liked it a lot. And I recommend it if you're a Wes Anderson fan. And actually, if you're not a Wes Anderson fan, you should probably watch it too, because I really dug it a lot. And on another movie note, Alex talked to Boo Mitchell about Sinners.
Yeah, I have still yet to see it.
You need to see Sinners.
I know, I want to see it.
You should. It's still in theaters.
Okay.
For one thing, so you can go. I think it's worth seeing in a big screen.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to watch it on streaming, that's cool too. I was seeing looking at the box office stats this morning, and it is the number 2 highest grossing original film of the last 20 years.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, after Gravity is the first one. Do you remember Gravity?
No.
Okay, well,
I don't remember. What was Gravity?
Gravity is completely different. Gravity was a Alfonso Cuarón movie. He directed Harry Potter and the third Harry Potter movie, the one with the time travel.
Azkaban.
Right. Yes, he directed that one, the best of the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah. Okay.
And Roma too, if you ever got to see Roma. But he is a. Anyways, we're talking about Ryan Coogler, who is amazing and a great director. And so the music, it's set in Clarksdale,
right,
Mississippi, and it's set around the blues too. These two guys who are both played by Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a scene in the very beginning of the movie when you first introduce them, where like one of the twins, they're the Smokestack twins, Smoke and Stack. One of the twins is good at rolling cigarettes, and the other one can't. So one of the twins always has to roll cigarettes for the other twin, right? And there's a scene in the beginning of the movie where like they roll a cigarette and they're like passing the cigarette back and forth. Mm-hmm. And my wife, Laura, leaned over to me and said, "He's just showing off now." Because it's really difficult to have two people of the same, like when you do that, like if I'm sitting here and I'm sitting there, you split the screen down the middle and you just, and lock the tripod down, and then you just put those two images together. But they were like reaching across the barrier, and it was like, that couldn't have been done 10 years ago.
Yeah, not in the Parent Trap of Lindsay
Lohan. No, Parent Trap, it would not work. You know, they're always, they did
the hand game.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess you're right. I guess it could have been done. Yeah, I guess it could have been done. But anyways, highly recommend Sinners, and you got to read what Boo Mitchell has to say about helping out with the soundtrack on that. Because it was, because the music is a huge part of it, and also it's a vampire movie,
Yeah.
So that's cool
Yeah.
too. What else we got? Anything else?
Toby writes about brewery kitchens.
That's right.
Yeah.
Michael Donahue's out sick. He had some surgery. He's recovering. Michael, we wish you a speedy recovery.
Mm-hmm. He was posting pictures of sunflowers on Instagram.
Oh, good. I think
he's feeling pretty well.
Good. I think he's up. He's up and around, and so Toby's got the food beat this week, and we have to be flexible in this business, you know.
Yeah.
I was a freelance writer for a long time, and the way I survived as a freelance writer was just saying yes to everything. Mm-hmm. Can you do that? Sure. What is it?
Yeah.
I can do it. So pick up a flyer, physical copy. We love those physical copies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get a physical copy. There's more than 300 sites all over the city where you can find one, or you can go to memphisflyer.com and check all this out. This has been the Memphis Flyer Podcast. I'm Chris, this is Abigail, and we will see you next week.